You've decided you want the smallest possible Airstream, something super easy to tow, simple to manage, and big on adventure. So naturally you're looking at these two models, the 16 Basecamp X as well as the 16 RB Bambi. But here's the million-dollar question. If they're both 16-foot Airstreams, how do we know which one's really right for us? So let's start by talking about the exterior features of these two units. Of course, the aluminum styling and the rivets are slightly different with the shell design between these two models, as is the dimensions. So the Basecamp X here will be about 16 feet 2 inches long, and the Bambi here will be 16 feet 3 inches long. As far as height of the overall unit, the Bambi is actually taller at 9 foot 5 inches, and the Basecamp is shorter at just 9 feet. For the overall width, the Basecamp is also slightly thinner, so it might be better for some crowded city streets or maneuvering in tight places because it's only 7 feet wide. The Bambi behind me is actually 8 feet wide. But if you're looking to capture some of those exterior views and bring that outside in, they each have at least 7 windows between the two of them, with the Basecamp having 1 additional window or skylight. When it comes to towing, both of these models gross a gross weight rating of 3,500 pounds. There's about 450 pounds on the tongue of the Basecamp and 475 pounds of hitch weight on the Bambi to begin with. So we can also load gear that's going to influence. The base weights are going to start very low on both these units, slightly lower on the Basecamp, and the Basecamp can take 850 pounds of additional gear inside the unit. The Bambi here can only take an additional 350. Both of them are going to tow fantastic, but this has slightly a lower ground clearance below it because the Basecamp X comes lifted from the factory. The really great thing about that 3,500 pound weight rating is the wider range of vehicles that it brings into the Airstream community. At just a slightly bit larger floor plan, you don't have that same weight rating and it disqualifies a lot of vehicles. I've had the privilege of setting up Subaru Outback Wildernesses, Honda Ridgelines, Honda Pilots, small trucks like Tacomas, Traverses. I've set up so many vehicles that can't tow the slightly larger Airstream, but are perfect to tow a Basecamp or a 16 RB. So we're going to start by talking between the two interior features of the units. I want to start with the Basecamp 16X and show you the view outside these front vista windows. Some of the best Airstream tagged photos we see on social media are photos out of these very windows, and right on the inside of them we have the 16X kitchen here. I love the use of the space. I love that you can option a microwave if you want one. If not, you'd have additional storage here. Of course, we have the 3.1 DC fridge. In about 4 hours, this is nice and cold for us. And then to maintain it, it's hardly any draw on those 200 amp hours of lithium batteries on board if you option it as such. We also have the LP stove top. I love the glass cover down because it gives you that additional prep space, just like the cover on our sink over there. We have the power tower on both sides. So if you're doing coffee maker, air fryer, any additional appliances, we can power them right here in the kitchen on both sides of our stove. And I also wanted to mention, you gotta love the fixtures that Airstream uses. You gotta love the deep basin sink. And I just wanted to show you what room and what kind of space we get out of this layout, so we can compare that when we get into the 16 RB. But it's also worth mentioning that there's about 4.5 inches above my 6 foot height right here. It does taper off as we get into the seating sleeping area in the back, but we'll talk more about that when we're comparing those two features between the units. So jumping right into the Bambi 16 RB here, we can notice that there's 4 inches above the 6 foot height that I am right here in the unit, but that 6 foot 4 inches continues all the way from the roof locker in the front to the roof locker in the back. And the roof lockers are another big difference between the Bambi and the Basecamp behind me. But talking about the kitchen, like we were saying before, I want to mention that that cooking with contour microwave, that's going to be standard in your 16 RB. And the 3.1 DC fridge, the Binovacool, really one of my favorites in the industry, standard on our Bambi as well. The LP stove with the glass cover. And I want to mention there's also roof lockers above your kitchen, so this is kind of where our pantry would be. We have a drawer under our sink as well that really works kind of as our cutlery drawer. And then of course we do have the cutting board sink cover and a square basin sink in the Bambi, just making good use of the space. But with these covers in place, we still have prep space. We can always turn around, use our dinette table as additional space. So it's still a very functional, versatile kitchen in both units. Can you hear that? That's a porcelain commode in your wet bath. In the 16 Basecamp, we have a porcelain commode, we have a very nice shower handle, this one's covered because it's been winterized, and we actually have a pass-through door to the outside where I can push this same shower head outside and use it as my outdoor shower. As far as tank capacity, I've got a 21-gallon fresh tank on board and a 24-gallon combination gray-black tank. The layout on the wet bath of the 16 Bambi is a little bit different. First off, our commode is not porcelain, and that's to keep the overall base weight of the unit low despite all the things that we're using on this. Inside the wet bath itself, we have a lot of the same things that the Basecamp has, like the clothesline here, like the evacuating vent fan we have above me, and the stylish shower head. An additional thing that the Bambi has is this nice wet storage in the wet bath. It's also worth mentioning there is no pass-through for this shower head, but there is a separate outdoor shower on the Bambi on the outside. Also, the tank sizes are slightly different. We have a 24-gallon fresh tank on board our Bambi and a 30-gallon combination gray-black tank. When the bed is made in the 16X, we have a 76-inch by 76-inch bed. It doesn't conform to normal sizes, and it might be slightly tapered, but we can very comfortably sleep 1 or 2 adults, maybe even 3 kids. The 16 Bambi boasts the ability to sleep 4 at the 16-foot size. We have a front dinette that turns into sleeping at 41 inches and 89 inches long, and in the rear we have the actual bed, 48 by 78 inch fixed bed. What's great is we have storage on the front and the rear here, as well as above us a 12-volt TV, and this means that we can have the kids at the front dinette bed and the parents can get some privacy in the rear. So as far as appliances inside the Basecamp, we have a non-ducted Coleman Mach AC above us with a heat strip, about 9200 BTU. And then we have a control panel behind me. We've got the Victron MPPT solar controller. You can option 200 watts of solar on the roof of your Basecamp X. We've just got our pump switch as well as our combo tank level and fresh tank level readout, as well as battery. We've got lithium on board. And then this is our forced air furnace. It's about 1200 BTU. And then this is our continuous on-demand water heater. There's also a recirculating function on this unit, and I feel like you're going to see these on more Airstreams coming in the future. But let's check out the Bambi and talk about the appliances available in that unit. So inside the 16 Bambi, we have a Dometic non-ducted AC above me here, and this is actually 13,500 BTU, so a little bit more powerful if you're looking to cool the unit. And as far as our readouts and appliances, we have a Victron controller as well in this unit, but it's worth mentioning we can only option 100 watts on the roof of this unit, and that's just because we have a little less real estate up there. Of course, we have like a TV antenna. The Basecamp will not have that TV antenna because it doesn't have any TVs, and it's just like slightly different, the intent of this unit being for families and that being more so couple camping, more so off-grid adventures, and having 200 watts of solar so it can stay off-grid a little bit longer. We still have, of course, the combination of the fresh tank readout with our pump switch, and we have a Girard on-demand water heater, which I'm a very big fan of. This just does not have that recirculating function. Again, the circulating function kind of serves more of a purpose for boondocking, and I feel like you're going to see this more often at campgrounds or with a generator hooked to it, so we're never really looking too much for that solution as well. Another thing I want to mention is both of these units can be optioned with 200 amp hours lithium battery right from the factory with the heat switch, so either unit you choose, you have the option to have that outstanding battery power and that 10-year lifespan of those batteries. So let's talk about price now, and the type of RVer that these units are intended for. So as far as MSRP from Airstream, this Basecamp MSRP is at about $58,500. The 16 Bambi MSRP is at $67,200. Now that's not the Colonial price, and that's not the price at the next Adventure sales event. So please stay tuned for that, and if you're interested, give us a call. But I wanted to mention that this more expensive unit does sleep 2 more people, does have slightly more fancy amenities inside, and it is intended for campgrounds and families and outing adventures where you have power and water at your site. Now the Basecamp behind me is set up to be a little bit more of an extended stay off-grid. Of course, the tank sizes are bigger with the Bambi, but the use of this unit is to be off the beaten path. We have the 3-inch lift, we have the stylized tires. These knobby tires really only serve for grip, and people say you don't need grip in the tow vehicle, but you don't want this sliding to your left or your right when you're off-roading with your Basecamp. So it's worth mentioning that this has a whole different market intended behind it, and that's why you see it at a different price. We don't have any TVs in here, we're not going for flashy fixtures, we're just having that purposeful unit behind me. Now with the Bambi, we've got all the fantastic features of Airstreaming in the smallest package possible. So even if you don't have a big robust truck, you can still tow this behind you and still make those memories and have those adventures that you can only have with an Airstream. And there you have it, our deep dive into the two smallest Airstreams, the 16RB and the 16NB Basecamp X. Whether you're all about cozy, classic layout, or you're more interested in a rugged adventure vibe, we hope this comparison has helped you in seeing which one aligns more with your travel style. If you're in the market and you want to check them out in person, swing by Colonial Airstream here in Millstone, New Jersey. We'd love to show you around, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all our in-depth Airstream comparisons. As always, thank you so much for watching, and happy travels.